When you hear the words drug lord, certain names instantly come to mind. Pablo Escobar, El Chapo, Al Capone. Men whose empires were built with violence, bloodshed, and fear. Their names became synonymous with the illegal drug trade and organized crime. But the protagonist of today's story is nothing like them. No cartel, no gunman, no street soaked in blood. He was just a teenager, with no criminal background, no prior experience, no connections. Yet he managed to do what countless others couldn't. For years, he ran a multi-million-dollar drug operation, alone, from a tiny room inside his parents' apartment. No one suspected a thing. Using nothing but the internet, he made millions in just a few years. This is the true story of a teenager who became a millionaire, and one of the most unexpected drug lords in history. Our story begins in Germany. A young man in his early 20s named Maximilian Schmidt, better known online simply as Max. Max lived with his parents in a quiet town called Leipzig. His bedroom was barely larger than a prison cell, cramped, narrow, forgettable. But to Max, it was something else entirely. It was his sanctuary. Max spent almost all his time inside that room. His parents never entered it. The door stayed locked. Inside, Max lived in a world of his own, untouched, uninterrupted. At the center of that world was a computer. Max didn't have friends in real life. Instead, he found comfort in conversations with strangers online. In 2013, anonymous chat rooms and forums were booming. Everyone was online, looking for connection. Max was no different. Day after day, night after night, he visited chat websites, talking to people he'd never meet. They discussed movies, video games, websites. Nothing serious, nothing suspicious. Until one night, an online friend asked him a simple question. Have you ever heard of a website called Silk Road? Max hadn't. His friend explained. Silk Road was an online marketplace operating on the dark web, a hidden part of the internet inaccessible through traditional browsers. It required special software, specific configurations, and curiosity. On Silk Road, illegal products were openly sold, especially drugs. Curiosity got the better of Max. He installed the necessary browser, adjusted the settings, typed in the address. What he found shocked him. Ecstasy, cocaine, cannabis, and countless other drugs available at the click of a button. Payments were made using Bitcoin, a digital currency prized for its anonymity. Orders were shipped discreetly, delivered quietly. Max stared at the screen and kept scrolling. He had nothing else to do, so he explored the website for hours, reading reviews, studying product descriptions, analyzing sellers. His fascination grew into obsession. Max didn't just browse Silk Road, he studied it. He read articles, examined its structure, learned how it worked. Eventually, he reached a conclusion. Silk Road wasn't a marketplace for many things. It was a marketplace for one thing only: drugs. And the reason it was crowded with sellers was simple. The profit margins were enormous. It wasn't just attracting criminals, it was attracting Max. The deeper he went, the more he realized how organized and sophisticated the operation was. That complexity didn't scare him, it excited him. Then he noticed something else: weaknesses. Max began calculating numbers in his head: prices, volumes, profits. And that's when the idea formed. He didn't want to sell drugs on Silk Road. He wanted to build something better, a rival. Max returned to his online friend and told him what he'd discovered. The website is impressive, Max said, but it's missing something. He proposed they work together to create a new marketplace, one that could outperform Silk Road: better security, a cleaner, more user-friendly design, higher quality photos, detailed descriptions, fast responses, Real customer service, a professional operation. But his friend panicked. He warned Max it was illegal, dangerous, that they'd end up in prison if they were caught. Max listened, then made a decision. He would do it alone. Ignoring the risks, Max committed himself fully to his vision. While studying Silk Road sellers, he noticed something important. No one offered everything. Some had good prices. Others had great customer service. Some shipped fast, but no one combined it all. Max decided he would. Best prices, top-tier service, high-quality products, reliable shipping. He wanted to revolutionize online drug shopping. But first, he needed answers. How could he ship faster? How could he increase profit margins? How could he keep customers happier than anyone else? And most importantly, where would he get the drugs? Max didn't use drugs. He had no dealer contacts, no connections. So he did the only thing he could. He contacted a seller on Silk Road. The seller went by the alias Red Bull. Max explained that he wanted to start selling. He asked for a test order, 25 grams of cocaine, 10 grams of MDMA. Payment would be in Bitcoin. Delivery would be made to a pack station, an automated parcel locker located in public spaces like train stations or shopping centers. No home address, no names. Max agreed. Days later, he walked to the pack station near his apartment, picked up the package, and went home. For the first time in his life, Max held drugs in his hands. He examined them closely, the smell, the texture. He even searched online to understand how they were used. Not out of curiosity, out of professionalism. He needed to write accurate product descriptions. He wanted customers to know exactly what they were buying. Then he studied Silk Road again, looking at how others photographed the same products, and realized something. He could do it better. Max grabbed his Xbox, its glossy black surface acting like a mirror. He placed it in front of his TV and played a looping fireplace video, creating a dramatic reflection. The result? Clean, professional, striking. Now Max had drugs, high-quality photos, and a plan. All he needed now was a platform to sell them on. Max got to work immediately. The first thing he needed was a name. He called it Shiny Flakes. Next came the branding. Max designed a logo, then built a clean, user-friendly interface that made navigating the site effortless. He spent countless hours refining layouts, organizing products, and polishing every detail. But here's the part that made Shiny Flakes truly audacious. It wasn't on the dark web. There were no hidden browsers, no secret links. Shiny Flakes existed on the open internet, accessible through ordinary web browsers, just like any other online store. At first glance, it looked like a sneaker shop. Minimal design, product thumbnails, clean menus. Only instead of shoes, the shelves were stocked with drugs. Max even added a review section where customers could share feedback, rate products, and describe their experience. The site felt familiar, almost comforting, like Amazon. Except Amazon had thousands of sellers. Shiny Flakes had only one. Max. To make the operation feel legitimate, he created a detailed FAQ section. It covered payment methods, shipping policies, privacy guarantees, and customer support. He updated it regularly to answer new questions as they appeared. Every detail was intentional. From idea to launch, the entire website took just 2 weeks to build. On December 10, 2013, Max first thought about selling drugs online. 2 weeks later, on Christmas Day, Shiny Flakes went live. Almost immediately, it caught attention. Buyers were confused. How was this website operating so openly, despite selling illegal substances? It was bold, reckless even, but to Max it felt controlled. Where most people would hesitate, Max moved forward without scruples. He wasn't driven by fear of consequences, only by efficiency, profit, and the challenge itself. He believed everything was under control, and at first, it was. But there was a problem. Max had built the store. He knew how to talk to customers. What he didn't want to do was leave his room. He hated going outside. He preferred working silently from behind his screen. That's when he thought of the online friend, the one who had introduced him to Silk Road in the first place. Max reached out. He told him everything: the website, the idea, the orders starting to come in. He asked his friend to handle sales and logistics, promising clear instructions and minimal risk. Then Max waited. Orders began appearing on shiny Flakes, but his friend never replied. Hours passed, then days. Max sent another message, then another. Nothing. His friend had vanished. At that moment, Max stood at a crossroads: give up or move forward alone. The decision didn't take long. He hadn't worked this hard to stop halfway. Max chose to handle everything himself. To do that, he needed equipment: an electronic scale to weigh orders precisely, a vacuum sealer to remove air and prevent odor leakage, a heat sealer to permanently close the bags. All of it was brought quietly into his room, without his parents noticing a thing. Max was still a beginner. He didn't use drugs. He had no real experience with the products. There were no tutorials. So he learned by trial and error. One of his products was MDMA, a substance that looked and felt like a rock. Hard, solid. When Max tried cutting it with a knife, nothing happened. Frustrated, he contacted his supplier, Red Bull. By now, Red Bull had become more than a vendor. He was a mentor. Max asked how to break down the MDMA. Red Bull replied with clear instructions: a hammer, a chisel, a plastic container, and a warning: don't breathe the dust. Max followed the advice. It worked. For the first time, he successfully prepared an order from start to finish. With each shipment, his confidence grew. Orders began trickling in, 1 a day, then 5, then 10. Shiny Flakes was alive. Max moved fast, packing orders, sealing them, shipping them out without delay. He set 2 strict rules for himself: never meet a customer in person, never get caught during shipping. Anonymity was everything. To stay hidden, Max used the postal system. Each package was carefully disguised, vacuum sealed, and sent through regular mail. At the time, mailing drugs was almost unheard of, but Max saw it as the safest option. Leipzig had hundreds of postal drop boxes. Max used many of them. Different locations, different times. The postman became his courier, and the German postal service did the rest. As Shiny Flakes grew, its reputation spread. Customers praised the product quality. They trusted the discreet shipping. They appreciated the fast, responsive customer service. Positive reviews piled up. Word of mouth did the marketing. By January 2014, Max was processing 5 to 10 orders a day, earning €10,000 to €15,000 in monthly sales, an astonishing number for a brand new website. He kept working as if nothing had changed. Packing, shipping, repeating. By the summer of 2014, Shiny Flakes was receiving 40 to 50 orders every single day. And Max was still alone. He never advertised. Most customers found the site through Google or through other users, and many of them were addicts. They didn't order once. They came back again and again. Shiny Flakes became part of their routine. What kept Max invisible wasn't just strategy. It was mindset. He didn't see himself as a drug dealer. He saw it as a game. The money didn't excite him. The challenge did, outsmarting the system, watching the numbers grow, staying one step ahead. That attitude kept him calm, focused, and for a long time, It kept him free. Max kept working, and everything kept growing. At first, most of his customers were in Germany, but soon, orders began arriving from far beyond its borders: Indonesia, China, Australia. Then one day, something surreal happened. An order came in from Colombia, the birthplace of the global drug trade. Max hadn't expected that. To manage the flood of orders, Max created an Excel spreadsheet. Inside it, he logged every detail: usernames, emails, order numbers, purchased products. This list became a powerful tool. Max used it to reach out to customers, encouraging repeat purchases and building loyalty. But there was a contradiction. In his FAQ section, Max had promised total privacy, assuring users that no personal data was stored. Now, he was quietly breaking that promise. At some point, growth mattered more than ethics. Max didn't just want customers, he wanted long-term clients. To strengthen those relationships, he added a personal touch. Every package now included a small bag of gummy bears. It was simple, and it worked. Customers loved it. Reviews poured in, praising not just the products, but the thoughtfulness. The gesture became part of Shiny Flakes' identity, setting it apart in an increasingly crowded market. From early 2014 to the summer of that year, Max accumulated Bitcoin worth over $1 million, back when a single Bitcoin was valued at around $400. If he had held on to it until today, it would be worth tens of millions. Despite the money, Max continued working alone. But success created a new problem. He was running out of stock. His original supplier could no longer meet the demand. So Max expanded, building a broader, more powerful supply network. Eventually, he found a producer capable of manufacturing drugs in industrial quantities. Unlimited supply. Max began placing orders worth millions of euros. Only one issue remained: delivery. Shipping massive quantities by post was impossible, and Max refused to meet anyone in person. So he came up with a bold solution. He gave the supplier his own home address and told him someone else would pick up the packages. The supplier never knew he was delivering drugs directly to Max's parents' apartment. Max always spoke in the third person, creating the illusion of a larger organization. Professional, distant, untouchable. Was it risky? Absolutely. But Max didn't care. He believed that even if someone discovered the packages, they wouldn't report it. His real priority was anonymity, never meeting suppliers or customers face to face. As for hiding the deliveries from his family, that part was easy. Max's relationship with his parents was distant, almost non-existent. He lived entirely in his room. He cooked for himself, cleaned for himself, took care of everything alone. The only thing his mother did was laundry, placing a basket outside his door. She hadn't entered his room in over a year. They were strangers under the same roof, and his parents had no idea who their son really was. For over a year, the operation ran flawlessly. Orders increased. Reviews stayed positive. Shiny Flakes was thriving. But the fact that we're telling this story today means only one thing. Max was caught. The beginning of the end came through the post. Some customers never received their packages, missed deliveries, lost parcels. Because Max never included a return address, undelivered parcels ended up back at post offices. Some were opened, inside, drugs, large quantities. Reports began flooding in. German authorities launched an investigation. At first, they had no idea where to start. So they tried something new. They traced a recipient's laptop activity. That's when they saw it. Repeated visits to a website. Shiny Flakes. The police were stunned. A fully functional drug marketplace, running openly on the regular internet, and they had never heard of it. For the first time, they felt hopeful. Find the website creators, and the entire network would collapse. But there was a problem. All identifying information was hidden. The domain and infrastructure were protected by a US-based company, Cloudflare. When authorities requested user data, Cloudflare refused, citing strict privacy policies. The investigation hit a wall. To the police, it felt like criminals had evolved faster than law enforcement. New tools, new protections, a widening gap. They believed Max had chosen US servers to stay untouchable. But Max later explained the truth. He chose them for security, to keep the site online at all costs. With no digital trail, police returned to traditional methods: surveillance, undercover work, patience. Meanwhile, Max reached the peak of his empire. At its height, Shiny Flakes processed over 15,000 orders per day. Daily sales reached 100,000 euros, and Max handled everything alone: suppliers, customers, packaging, shipping, server maintenance. The pressure was unbearable. He slept only 3 to 4 hours a night. His health declined. Mistakes crept in. Late shipments, incorrect orders, customer complaints. The cracks were forming. At the same time, police shifted focus to postal drop boxes and known dealers in Leipzig. Then came the breakthrough. They found Red Bull, Max's first supplier and mentor. Details were never made public, but surveillance followed. One day, police watched Red Bull place a package into a pack station. Minutes later, Max arrived to pick it up. The police assumed he was just another courier. They followed him. Days later, they photographed one of Max's suppliers delivering a massive package directly to his home. The truth was closer than they realized. On February 26, 2015, after more than a year of unprecedented online drug sales, Max's luck ran out. That morning, Max woke up late, exhausted from working through the night. At 11 a.m., he went out to collect packages. By 2 p.m., he was back in his room, processing orders. Then, the sound of drilling. Before he could react, armed officers stormed his room. "Get on the ground!" Max froze. His empire collapsed in seconds. Later, Max said he didn't feel fear. He felt disbelief. He never imagined it would end like this. The police were stunned by what they found. First, Max wasn't part of a gang. He was the gang. He worked alone. Second, the scale was unimaginable. They expected 10 or 20 kilos. They found 1 ton. 1,000 kilograms of narcotics hidden throughout the room. They had to request a van just to transport the evidence. Street value: 4 million euros. Max was sentenced to 7 years in prison and ordered to pay 3 million euros to the state. He served 4 years and was released in 2019. But the story didn't end there. Police discovered 3 Bitcoin wallets. They accessed only one. The password, written on a sticky note in his room. The other 2 remain locked. Estimated value at the time, 1 million euros. At today's prices, far more. This was the rise and fall of Shiny Flakes, a global drug empire, built in a bedroom, by a teenager. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe our channel.